Welcome traders to this video on creating a trading plan using ZoneTraderPro pattern and order flow matching software. The first thing that we want to look at is we want to understand the ZoneTraderPro zones and patterns. And for that, I created a specific video on the YouTube channel. You go to the website and scroll all the way down to the footer. You'll find a link down here to the ZoneTraderPro YouTube channel. And the Understanding the ZoneTraderPro Zones and Patterns was a recently published video on September 1st. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up 4 different charts so that we can get some information for the Excel worksheet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a 500 tick chart. And what I want to do is I want to place one indicator on there, and that's the zigzag ZTP with a deviation points of 2.5. The next thing I want to have is a 150 tick chart. I want 2 indicators on this chart. The first is a ZTP zigzag with a deviation points of 1.25. and the standard ZoneTraderPro indicator. I do want to have the tick filter show me all of the trend trades, so that in order to do that I'm placing the number for the tick filter at 500. The next thing I want to have on it to look at is the 5 range chart with the ZoneTraderPro order flow, and these are the settings that I'm looking at here. The delta strength is optional. And the last chart I want is a 3 range chart. On the 3 range chart, I'm going to have 2 indicators, although really only the order flow is necessary. And these are the parameters I'm looking at for the 3 range chart. I've also placed the zigzag ZTP so I can also see the zones on this chart with a deviation point of 1.25, although that's really not necessary. It's more just for reference. And the last thing I'm going to need is a Microsoft Excel worksheet. I can make a copy of this available to you if you contact me. And basically what I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to be looking down here. I've divided 7 tabs into the 7 patterns that we have. On top here, I have created the areas that I believe are necessary for tracking what we're going to be looking at. So basically the date and time are pretty self-explanatory. The MFE and MAE stand for maximum favorable excursion and maximum adverse excursion. So let's take a look at how we're going to calculate MFE and MAE now. Let's take a look at this short trend trade here. And what we're going to look at is 2 things. We're going to look at the maximum adverse excursion, and we're going to look at the maximum favorable excursion. In a short trade, the area of the zone that I'm going to be looking at is the bottom of a zone of resistance. So in this case, the price of 29.04 is the line that I want to start calculating those values from. So from 29.04, the adverse excursion in this trade was 6 ticks. Now that we figured out the adverse excursion, the favorable excursion is 3.25 points, or 13 ticks favorable excursion. And second, we'll look at this counter trend trade right here. In a long trade, the exact opposite is where we look for favorable and unfavorable excursion. So we look to the top of the zone of support here at a price of $28.99. And then we would look to favorable excursion, and this was a 4-point trade, so that was 16 ticks of favorable excursion. So now we know how to calculate the adverse excursion. On a short trade, it is from the bottom of the resistance zone. And on a long trade, it is from the top of a support zone. This is important because all of the statistics I've ever made concerning ZoneTraderPro have used these 2 as a reference point for the start and end of a trade. The next column I want to look at is a column I call second pattern. And that's going to occur when we have multiple instances of what could be a trading pattern. So in this trend trade right here, we've traded to here, and then we've traded down 2.5 points, which would have been a significant move. We've again traded back to here, traded again down that same 2.5 points, traded here again, same thing, and we've finally traded up to here at 29.0550 before finally selling off into the reversal pattern. So when I look at this as a pattern, I want to judge what happened here, 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 and here. This is also going to come into play when we look at a test of a high or a low. The next thing I want to know, is there anything on the 500 tick chart that is indicating a high risk? An example of a high risk trade would be this counter trend trade right here, which I deem to be high risk in my opinion, because we've gone from blue zone to blue zone and formed a strong trend reversal. And the other type of pattern that I would deem high risk is any type of either reversal or trend trade that follows an exhaustion. So if we had this exhaustion trade here, what follows I would deem high risk, and you can see the reason why here. This idea of a high risk trend trade goes back almost 12 years, so there is significant research behind it. The next thing I want to look at is I want to look at what the order flow was in the 5 range. And I'm not really planning on putting anything in this column, but I'm planning on identifying when we have a point of control extension here, a point of control absorption, a ZTP order flow, an exhaustion pattern, or a delta change pattern. And in a similar way on the order flow 3 range chart, I'm going to not be placing anything in this column, but I'm going to be noting if we have a ZTP order flow, an exhaustion, or a delta. I'm going to break this video into 2 parts so that it's a little easier to watch now that you know how to set up the charts and the Excel worksheet. So don't forget to go to the YouTube channel and watch the Understanding the ZoneTrader Pro Zones and Patterns video. And be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you know when I upload a new video. And be sure to like the video, which will help me out tremendously. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.